All right, Craig, you don't get to say anything tonight. Matter of fact, we're just going to skip the intros because apparently Chris has like 16 hours worth of stuff he has to talk about today.
Yes.
Yeah, he's just bursting with information.
Yeah, all right. So we're the Grumpy Dungeon Masters. I'm Jay, joined with my co-host Christopher, Christian, and Dan. Say hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
Hello there.
All right,
are we racing through this? Are we at 1.5 times speed of the glue band right now?
Yes, totally.
Go. Okay, let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, right, Christian, where can they find us on social medias?
I'm not doing that. You can find the Grumpy Dungeon Masters on Spotify, on Apple Podcast, or wherever else you get your podcasts. You can also find us streaming on Twitch TV Tuesdays and Thursday evenings, currently going through Valheim, and then on to other things. If you like what you hear from us on the podcast, you like what you see in the stream, leave us a like, subscribe, leave a comment, please. But wait.
You gotta be quicker than this.
No, it doesn't.
Dear listener, I did not forget. In a future that grows ever closer, Eldritch blasting its way into a Twitch stream near you will be the return of epic adventure. The return to the only coast in the Forgotten Realms. The only place that Pro will pay people to write about.
Mm-hmm.
Stay tuned for the one day, the once and future return of Grumpy Dungeon Master Christopher's D&D 5e Waterdeep World Board Dead campaign.
God, I'm so excited.
Me too.
I might have to watch this.
I have to play in this if he can't get anybody to play with him. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I've been saying that for a couple days now. Just need to get it done with.
Yeah.
All right. I normally start the bits. You could do your 2 short things first, Dan.
I said 3.
You said 2 short and 1 medium.
Wait, no. Whoa. All right.
Charging.
So short bit, in memoriam, rest in peace, Mr. Lou Zocchi, also known as Major Lou, the Colonel, or the Godfather of Dice. I don't know if you guys ever met him, but I met him back at Gen Con in the mid-2000s. And he was the guy that invented the Zocchihedron, which you may refer to as the D100. That was a thing that he invented. He also invented the D3, the D5, the D14, the D24.
Did he invent the shapes?
Yeah, he invented the shapes.
Okay. All right.
And then perfected them into actual polyhedral dice so that you could actually roll them. He was he's called the Godfather of Dice, but his career actually goes back very similar in path to like Gary Gygax. He's called the Colonel because at a certain point in time he was actually a colonel in the Air Force. He actually ended up being a brigadier general by the end of his career, but he started in the 60s doing wargaming and was one of the first editors of the magazine that Avalon Hill produced and play tested like a ton of Avalon Hill games that I did not even realize that he either play tested or helped write, which includes like Bismarck, Africa Korps, Jutland, Stalingrad, and then he actually started designing other games like the Battle of Britain, Luftwaffe, Alien Space, Hardtack, Battle Wagon Salvo, Starfleet Battle Manual. So I'm getting to Star Trek now. Starfleet Battles. And he, I guess, ingratiated himself into the RPG scene back in the early 70s when he helped work on a little game with Guidon Games called Chainmail, which you guys, I'm sure, are familiar with.
Nope, never heard of it.
So while Gygax and Arneson get all the credit, like there were other people involved in this thing. Like he didn't come up with all the ideas himself, and this is, he contributed to Chainmail, he contributed to a lot of different things, but he also contributed to the fact that back in the early mid-70s, the only dice you could get in America were D6s, because that's what board games included, and they weren't really made here at all. And he was the first person to make polyhedral dice in the United States. He founded a company called Game Science back in 1974 that created the polyhedral dice. So like all those old school dice that are lovingly referred to as Menser dice from the box sets or Holmes dice, those are like his dice, or at least are based upon his designs. Because I mean, I think other places clearly had like D8s and D10s and stuff like that, but like nowhere in America actually had them. And there's actually if you listen to the podcast When We Were Wizards, there's a story in there about Jim Ward trying to come up with like his own way to make his own dice, and just like I guess the playtest versions of them that arrived were so shitty that they could not include them in the box sets that they're releasing, which gave rise to the chits that you basically throw in a bag and pull out a chit to see what you quote unquote rolled, because they couldn't include dice. So, TSR, botched making their own dice, so they had to outsource that sort of thing. But like he apparently was like the nice guy, like old style mentor to a lot of the people that you've probably heard of in the gaming community. Like, you guys know who Greg Stafford was?
I know the
Jay,
name.
you might. He wrote. Yeah. He founded Chaosium.
Okay.
And he wrote Call of Cthulhu. And whenever it was a struggling business back in the early 70s, he basically apparently gave him a ton of advice on how to run his company, and to introduce him to a bunch of distributors and to game shops, because this is the Wild West back then. There's no internet, there's no phone book that tells you where all the game stores are in the individual towns, or which part of the country to distribute your products. And there certainly wasn't any Kickstarters or anything like that. So he apparently knew a lot of people, and because of all his wargaming years, and now that the rise of tabletop gaming was happening, he basically hooked him up with distributors to get him into different homes, and made, Chaosium there was always playing second fiddle to TSR, but you know what? People still love and collect all those early Chaosium games, and part of the reason is probably because Lou helped him out. But there's other stories too. Apparently, when Judges Guild were having financial difficulties, a lot of the reprints, and the fact that you can still get some of these old school Janelle Jacquet modules, like on eBay for under $100, is because anytime that a Judges Guild module went out of print, and he knew that the Judges Guild guys were, because they all go to like the same cons and stuff, that they were kind of having financial difficulties, he'd throw them some money and then offer to reprint their out of print supplements. So a lot of those out of print supplements were reprinted by his company, which I think is called Zocchi Distributors, because he was one of the earliest distributors of specifically adventure gaming. Because before then it was basically just wargaming and board games. So adventure gaming was basically a new thing. Which that was actually, his company was actually in business until 2001, and the reason why it went out of business, I'll give you guys one guess.
Wizards.
There you go. Wizards of the Coast did not renew their licensing distribution with Zocchi Games, and they went out of business because D20 games is what everyone was into at the time, and they couldn't continue. Lou had already left the company by then, because he was already in his 70s by then, because when he died, he was 91. He died on April 15th, by the way.
Yeah.
But the other thing that he's really known for, and the reason that I thought he was such a cool guy, because you guys know how terrible my luck is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he explained to me, as well as anybody else who would listen, why dice roll the way they do, and people attribute it to luck, and sometimes maybe it is, if you believe in that sort of thing, but he was behind the science of it, and there's a reason why he said that there's a reason why dice roll like they do, because mass-produced dice essentially go through a process where, in order to get off all the sharp edges of them, they go through essentially like a rock tumbler. You guys know how those things work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, you throw a wall in there for like 3 or 4 days, and it gets off with a bunch of sand, and eventually gets off all the edges. And then they go through and ink it, and sometimes the ink gets, or ink or paint that's in the numbers is a little heavier on one side than on the other side. So essentially, he would produce dice that specifically had sharp edges and were play tested to roll on a predicted distribution of how they should roll based upon randomness of numbers. And there's actually been studies that, like, if you put Lou's dice up against Chessex, for example, like his will actually have a random distribution, whereas Chessex will either be weighted towards the top or the bottom, but not really in the middle. So, you have the guy that's like, oh, shit, I rolled my 5th 20 of the night. There's probably a reason for that. He's probably not actually cheating. It's, the die is actually just kind of rolling that way because it's weighted because of the heat, or it's because of the rock tumbler that it was in, or whatever. So after he passed, like his company, Game Science, actually is still in business. I think maybe one of his descendants is still running it, or maybe he sold it to somebody else. But you can still get some of his dice. And I actually was like, you know what? For old time's sake, I'm gonna throw $100 at getting some of his dice, and I ordered about $100 worth of his Game Science dice. See if it helps me roll any better. I don't think it will, but you know what? In his honor, why not?
At least you can now say it's not because of the dice.
Yeah, I can actually say it's not because of the dice. I don't have to have a dice jail. Right. That was my short thing.
I want to comment on that though too. You guys, we've been doing this podcast now for almost 6 years now.
Yeah, right around there.
Yeah. One of the first conversations Jay and I had when we were starting to, find a group of things and topics was the fact that whenever I, as a DM, start a new campaign, I buy a brand new set of dice. Because of the exact reasons that you just said. I don't know where I heard that basically when they go through the cheat process, everything rolls differently. I remember hearing that years ago, and so every time I make a new PC, every time I make a new character, I buy a new set of dice. Something thematic for that set.
Sure.
When I played Spelljammer, I bought some dice that had like little galleon dice and like this astral sea kind of look to them. When I was playing Temple of Elemental Evil, I used a random dice bag ones that I got that kind of have this like skull on it that has the original colors from like the original dice box or dice sets. I had a villain that I was going to introduce that will come up later in this podcast. And I bought a specific D20 from the Fizzband's Treasury of Dice.
Oh my.
A blind box. It's just an oversized D20. I bought that D20 just to use it for that boss because all dice don't roll the same. And I still, tell everyone's like, you should always buy new dice. Don't hoard dice. Don't be a dice goblin, and just use any dice and throw some shit away. No. Every new character gets its own set of dice, and that is how that character lives and dies. That's how it goes. But some people, I will say, some people are just naturally unlucky, and no matter what dice they use, they will always roll the wrong result. And Dan, you are one of those people.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, I just want you to know.
For reminding me of that.
You're forever cursed, man. You're forever cursed.
I know. One last note on Lou. He won a Gary Con Lifetime Achievement Award in 2022, and if you guys get a chance, take a look at the remembrance that Luke Gygax did of him, because apparently when he was a kid, Lou was also an amateur magician. So one of his fondest memories was when he met Lou was that he was doing a magic show.
That explains the artwork that I saw. Of
him with like a little cape, like a top hat, yeah. So anyway, so the other thing I have is it's not exactly RPG, but it's close enough. I introduced my son and one of his friends to Hero Quest this weekend.
Bum bum bum.
Yep,
it begins.
So. My kid is 7, and his friend is also 7, and they're having a sleepover. I was like, you know what? I feel like this is the appropriate time to at least, start with the whole adventure gaming thing. We'll start with Hero Quest, because that's about where I started. And a couple years ago, they produced Hero Quest produced a version of the game which is kind of a stripped down. Cheaper version, because producing all the meeples and the terrain and everything like that for the original game is pretty expensive, and in order to get to a bigger market, have your stuff sold at like Target, they had to make a cheaper version. So
yeah, the original one's a whole bunch of fucking plastic minis.
Yeah, it's a whole bunch of plastic minis. There's plastic mini for every character and every monster you end up encountering. Multiple of most of them.
And treasure chest and doorways. And
the original treasure chests were actually paper terrain.
Were
they? You have to fold together. And yeah, they were.
Okay, it's been too many years. I don't remember.
The ones that were reproduced in a Kickstarter in 2020, 2021, something like that, those were actually like actual plastic molded ones. But anyway, I was running them through an adventure. The first one was it was for the First Light series of adventures. So I don't think this is gonna be a spoiler for anybody, but the first one is basically you're playing the 4 characters. If you're not familiar with Hero Quest, you have the dwarf, which is basically like a fighter thief because he can disarm traps without having a trap disarming kit. The elf, which is kind of like a ranger, and she can fight. She can use most weapons and armor, and she's got 1 set of spells. Essentially, you have 4 stacks of spell cards, and the wizard has the other 3 stacks of spell cards. And you can mix it up, and you don't have to take a specific set of cards, but like the recommendation is that if you have never played it before, the elf takes the earth set of cards because it can do things like pass through walls, healing, and like a stone skin sort of spell. And then there's the wizard and the barbarian. And the first quest was pretty simple, and I will say that, Hero Quest is on the box says recommended for ages 14 plus. I definitely played that when I was younger than 14, so I felt like my kid could handle this. So they did a great job. They both played video games before that are RPGs. Specifically, my kids played a game called Ni no Kuni, which is kind of like a Hayao Miyazaki style a JRPG. So he's familiar with sort of like the inventory management and the combat and the hit points and things like that. In Hero Quest is called Body. When I explained, hey, it's the same thing as hit points. He's like, oh, I got it. And you've got mind points, which is basically the same thing as mana, if you actually, or essentially your defenses. And Hero Quest also has proprietary dice. They have essentially, I think, 4 sides that have skulls on it, which do damage. 1 side that has a hero white shield, and a black side that has a Zargon evil shield. So basically, defense for the heroes, defense for the evil guys. And I very quickly realized that, man, we must have had a shitload of sets of Hero Quest when I was a kid that, everybody just kind of brought over to this one kid Ryan's house, and we all had our own personal dice that we used, because it was a pain in the ass to pass the dice back and forth across the table, and getting a couple of 7-year-olds to pay attention. It's like, hey, can you hand me the dice? I need the dice so I can roll. Hey guys, can you hand me the dice? Because after we played that first quest, I definitely broke out like my Kickstarter version and pulled out the extra sets of dice and pulled them all together so it would go faster. But my wife played the other 2 characters. She played the barbarian and she played the wizard, and she had a very pointed conversation about, okay, this is a very dangerous game, and we have to all stick together. Don't split the party. They definitely tried to split the party almost immediately.
Mm-hmm.
His friend was very into role playing. My son was very into finding out the stats of everything, which in Hero Quest, actually, it's not like it's on a metagamey thing. Like literally, like in the book, it says all the stat cards should be in front of you, and if the PCs want to see the stat cards, they totally can. So that's not even against anything. So they went through and got through the first game pretty easily, and they had a great time, and they got to the part where at the end of it where it's like, okay, you guys have all these gold pieces. I had pulled out, like, I had some coins that I'd pulled out for running Pirate Borg, so I actually handed out like actual gold pieces whenever they found gold and stuff like that, which they had a great time with. But in hindsight, might be a little too distracting for a 7-year-old, because they definitely were busy stacking coins.
Yep.
For most of the time. They very easily understood how to roll to attack, how to roll to defend, how to roll how much movement you had, and basically the basic actions you have, which is just simply searching for treasure, searching for traps, attacking, casting a spell, and so on. Opening doors is a free action, but once the door is open, Zargon will not allow it to be closed. But they were so excited at the end of it when they were trying to spend the money. They're like, okay, I don't have quite enough money to get any of this stuff, so what can I get with this? What can I get with that? And my wife's like, in gaming tradition, like, if you guys can't afford to buy anything, it's common to just pool all the money together, and just, you guys, why don't you just give me all the cash and I'll count it up. You guys could spend it how you want. And then they're like, they don't, the hero quest doesn't actually come with like a merchant list or something like that. If people have made one that you can print out, but I hadn't thought to do it. So I was just like, oh, here's the cards. There's limited number of things you can buy: shields, helmets, broadswords, long swords, short swords, daggers, etc., and so on. And they're like, oh, all we can afford is buying helmets. Hold on a second. Let me write down what everything costs. And then my son wrote down everything. What everything costs. And I was like, okay, guys, it's like 9:30. You're past your bedtime. And then his friends started writing down what everything costs, and they had like a journal of notes of how much everything cost, the stats of all the monsters. Like they were super into it. I was beside myself. And then they were so excited about it. After they woke up the next morning, they wanted to play the second quest. I'm like, okay, fine, we'll run the second quest. And the second quest was a little more complicated than I thought it was going to be. And they were way more distracted. I lend that to the fact that they had way too much candy, but that's on me. So the second quest, Jay played through this. I think it's the one where
I played through the first one. That's it.
Okay, the second quest involves you going through teleporters to random parts of the map to try to find the thing that you're looking for. And essentially, you start in a room which has no monsters in it, so you can feel free to search it. And all it has is a portal, a shimmering force field in front of it, or a shimmering field of energy in front of it, and it has the number 7 above it. And when you step through the portal, you know that you need to say a number between 1 and 7, and you say it out loud. So the barbarian says the number first. She goes through, and we clearly explain it to them as the adults in the room, saying, okay, you heard clearly the barbarian say the number 7, and remember what we talked about earlier about not splitting the party. Okay, yeah, okay. I stepped through the portal, say 5.
Yep. Saw that coming.
And then his friend steps through the portal right after him. He says, oh, I stepped through the portal and say 3. And I was like, oh god, no, they're all gonna die. They all end up with in separate rooms with 2 or 3 monsters each, and I'm like, okay, well, there's something that says that you can't step back through the portal, so all you do is survive a round, and then they need to go back. And of course, my son wanted to go help his friend. He's like, okay, can I go where her character's at? It's like, well, you don't know where her character is because you stepped through the portal before her, so you don't know what she said. It's like, oh. Well, how do I get back then? It's like, well, you know that the portal where you came from said 7. He's like, okay, I'm going to go back into number 7. So they all went back to 7, and then the monsters followed them.
Oh, no. So the monsters could use the teleporters too?
Yes, they could, and they knew exactly where the PCs went to.
Oh, Lord.
But it was a great time. They had a great time, but oh my god, lesson learned: do not feed kids candy when they're doing that, and also don't feed them at all because they become gremlins. Because they get very distracted by bowls of goldfish, nerds, or whatever happens to be on the table, and you have to ask them 4 or 5 times, okay, it's your turn. What are you gonna do, sweetie? It's your turn. Okay, honey, you need focus. Take the 2 red D6, roll them. Okay, now you move. Okay, you know what to do. You need to just roll the dice with the skulls on it. Okay. Oh my. Can you put down the gold pieces and the nerds, please?
Yeah, every person who has kids, I'm sure, is having flashbacks right now if they've ever tried gaming with them.
Yeah. I think the lesson learned here is that you play after dinner when they're full and they're able to focus. Because man, in the morning when it's snack time, oh my god, they cannot do it. All right. Anyway, that's my Hero Quest adventure. I just had to share that my kid is beginning his nerd journey, and I'm very happy by it and about it. And in fact, I decided I wanted to find something for him to play that I have not played before, rather than trying to go full on D&D. Because after the second session, I was like, there's no way these kids can follow a storyline here, and I got to make it something simpler. Maybe we just do all the Hero Quest adventures, and by the time they're done with all the Hero Quest adventures, they'll be ready for something else. So Christian turned me on to something else that I was going to look at, which is the Land of Eam. Have you guys read about this? Heard about this?
I do not know this one.
So it's produced by Exalted Funeral, the guys that do Old School Essentials.
Okay.
And I won a couple of Emmy awards. And it is it was Kickstarted a couple of years ago, but it's kind of the Muppets meets D&D.
I'm looking at it right now, and that seems like a very apt description.
I mean, anything the Muppets do whatever is just always good.
And I went on. I'd already picked up the Land of Eam basic set when I think Free RPG Day or something. Whenever we were up at Level Up Games a while back, but I went ahead and just ordered some an adventure, which is apparently about following a skeletal bard around named Rickety Stitch. And I picked up the Land of Eam Bestiary, which the art is fantastic. First off. But you've got the Bubble Goose, you got the Cackaltrice, the Catty Pillar, which is definitely a cat with the stripes of a caterpillar. You've got the Curdle Snail, which looks like he's going through sour milk. You have something called a Dood, D-O-O-D, which is a pear-shaped lumbering critter that looks reasonably intelligent, but has a little cognitive ability or self-awareness at all. Hi, my name's Dude. Names are Yup, and
Definitely sounds like Muppets.
It looks absolutely fantastic. So I feel like by the time they're done with Hero Quest, I'll be ready to run this, and I'm giggling just looking at some of this stuff.
Yeah,
it is clearly meant for kids, and I'm excited by it.
You will probably have to limit your game sessions to an hour and a half because that's how.
Oh, that's fine. It even says on the back of the book, playtime 2 to 4 hours. So
yeah,
if I can get 2 hours out of it, I'll be excited. So anyway, those are my little things. I think maybe just pass it on to Jay or Christian before Chris just takes over the entire podcast.
As I was going to talk about Tomb of Geisengacht, but I sent you guys the PDF, so we will wait until next week. That way everybody's had a chance to look at it.
Okay. Yeah, and maybe I'll get my book by then.
I hope so. Yeah. That's kind of what I'm waiting on.
Yeah.
I really, it's no fault of them. They did state that they were filling out different groups in different orders, and I got everything, and the everything package ships out last. Which is just weird, but it is what it is. I don't even have the shipping information yet. It's just been a while. It just feels weird.
Yeah. So Christian, do you have anything you want to throw in here?
No, go ahead, man.
All right, Chris, so you got 35, 40 minutes. I'm going to cut you off at that point.
Yeah, I'll save my other thing for next week. Actually, next week we have
Chris has a lot, so let's let him do.
Yeah, let's do this shit.
We have an interview next week, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
So, let's start with Adventures League.
Oh, God.
How many died?
None.
Bullshit.
No one died. Because they didn't fight Larethel the Beautiful, or whatever his name is.
Oh, okay. I know how this goes.
Lareth the Beautiful.
Okay.
What the F is with my D&D groups and joining the fucking bad guys?
Your villains are charismatic.
Edgelords. Yeah. Or they're edgelords.
They're not edgelords. Yeah. So let me set the stage. They're going through the Moat House dungeon area and of the Temple of Elemental Evil. It's this massive dungeon. They are doing a really good job kind of clearing it out. They find a way back through the dungeon that it kind of loops in on itself. So they know that there's a way out, but they're here to basically root out all the bandits and anything that may be in the Moat House, so they don't want to leave any rooms unfound. And they know there's another hallway that leads to another room, just because the map shows it. So they're like, okay, let's go down this hallway slowly, stealthily. Let's see if we can't find anything. Like I said, they weren't metagaming it; they were playing it right. And they get to where a door is, and they crack open the door a little bit. They look down this long hallway. They see that it's brightly lit at the end of the hallway. They do some perception checks. They hear something large some metal stamping on the ground, and the dwarf in the party, who's a fighter acolyte, uses his in 5.5 their natural ability to basically use tremor sense, and he positions himself to kind of sense that there is a number of humanoids. He couldn't really tell how many, but he knew that there were at least 6, like medium-sized creatures down there, and he knew that there were 2 large creatures. So a guy flicks a coin down. It scares one of the large creatures, which is a horse, and that begins the first encounter with this area. They're doing good. They have a choke point. They're taking out some guards. It's not terrible right now. They're pushing their way down the hallway. They kill some guys, and the bandit lieutenant kind of fall backs a little bit once 3 of his guys die, and calls for the leader. The leader eventually comes up and presents himself to the party. I stop initiative, and I begin having this back and forth between Larth the Beautiful and the group. And I read through the little description of him. He's willing to work with the adventurers and have them join him, because he's looking to basically take back the Temple of Elemental Evil. And, he has his own agenda there, but he doesn't want to kill the adventurers or stop them unless they're going to try to stop him from doing the same thing. I got a part in there where like he's aligned with Lolth somehow. Okay. It wasn't really clear on why he is, but for whatever the point, I basically just tell them like I'm on a divine mission from my goddess Lolth to take back the Temple of Elemental Evil. And you can help me with this, or you could try to stop me, and I'll kill you. And the dwarf still had tremor sense running, and they were a little bit further down the hallway, which was enough for him to tell that there was a vast number of medium humanoids and the 2 large creatures still there. I let him do a perception check, so they kind of found out they were outgunned like 3-1. All right. And so they were talking with him a little bit. Larth the Beautiful, his mission is just to go for the Temple of Medieval, not to attack Hamlet or Null or anything like that. So they were like, all right, well, what do you guys think? And they talked around the table for a little bit about whether or not they should, axe this guy off or try to join him. They did a couple of insight checks on him. It looked to be a huge imposing person and plate mail, They did pretty good with that, and they kind of realized that he had some magical weapons in his hands and shit, and eventually none of them had any deities that they were assigned to. The fighter acolyte did worship, I think, Torm, I believe.
All right.
Okay. And he was like, I'm against this totally. It's like, okay, that's cool. And then like the warlock, he kind of contacted his patron. His patron's this exiled archdevil. And I looked up her stats on the Wikipedia for Faerun, or the Faerun Wikipedia site. Read her backstory, and like she's gonna just want you to align with him, take all his stuff, and kill him if you do, to keep him at arm's reach. But if it's going to further your agenda, great, do it. And a couple of the other guys are just like, I don't really care one way or the other. I think some were chaotic neutral or neutral aligned, so they really didn't care one way or the other. So eventually they're like, all right, fine, we'll join you. So they hung out with.
So the dwarf's the only good guy?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, you're playing with a bunch of fucking edgelords, man.
Yeah, a bunch of edgelord nonsense people.
They're gonna love hearing that when you call them a bunch of edgelords.
But
I'm
also,
I'm just gonna go ahead and say it and to explain myself here. I'm okay with, like, if you're having a party and you're all supposed to be working together. Everybody being a bunch of chaotic neutral, I'm out for my own shit, never really works out, or shouldn't work out, because you're a bunch of chaotic neutral dicks. if you have like the rogue, who he's loyal enough to the party, and he's chaotic neutral, but will backstab anybody if he needs to, that's fine. Maybe the wizard too.
Yeah, I think they're all like chaotic or
the
neutral.
Cleric, the barbarian, maybe okay, sure. Like the monk, the paladin, the cleric, the druid. Most of these people are going to be good.
None of those are in this party.
What do you even have in your party?
But all right, so you got an archdevil warlock.
Oh, there you go.
So we have an archdevil warlock.
You literally have the definition of edgelord in 5e. An archdevil warlock.
But keep in mind,
also tiefling?
No, we have an
archdevils will not get along with anyone associated with Lolth.
Especially a chaotic evil dickbag.
Yeah, that is beautiful. They would rather cooperate with an angel and good guys than anything that's associated with the abyss and demons.
That's true.
Yeah, I think we kind of came to like, she's going to keep them at arm's reach, and the second that he gets an icky feeling, he's going to turn on him. And I was fine with that, because the exiled archdemon doesn't have any love for anyone, really, it looked like, from what I could tell. So I had to make that call on the fly. I didn't know enough. Then there's the barbarian. Then there's the archdevil warlock. Then there was a bard. And then the only one that was on there that was a cleric was the same guy that played all the Kennedys from the previous games. So that guy's just chaotic, great chaotic.
Yeah.
So he was just like, I worship the domain of the glowing door. Is that what he said? He keeps
domain.
I know, man. I just kind of roll with it. He illuminates doors with the spell of light and worships the door.
Literally not a single light domain deity that is not good.
I get it.
Not a single one.
So they aligned with Larthel, whatever his name is, the
Lareth.
Beautiful. I'm never going to remember it. I probably should. And my free, or the not free, but the blind box Fizz Bands dragon die that I had bought for him goes unused. It made me sad. But
there's got to be more to this, though, right?
Well, that's where we ended. And right now they're
Okay.
traveling up to Nolb. They made a quick stop by Hamlet. The Beautiful sent in a few guys to buy some supplies. The adventurers went in to kind of like turn in their quests and buy supplies as well. They talked to it was Bernay and something else, some other guy. But Bernay is a very greedy wizard, and he was like, if you guys are going to Temple of Mental Evil, you can hire my services. I just want a third of your treasure that you find, and you can have the services of a 4th level spellcaster in your party. And
man, that is so first edition. I love it.
And he also goes, by the way, I also have my badgers, which are all basically these guards that stay in the tower. He's like, these guys are all loyal to me. So 1,000 gold and a third of your treasure, and I'll join you on your quest. And they're like, hey, we should introduce this guy to Larthel the Beautiful over here. So they arranged that meeting, and I did some couple rolls, and I figured this chaotic, greedy wizard wouldn't care who he's aligned with. So now Larthel the Beautiful has a 4th level wizard and doubled the amount of minions that he has in his little army. So
you have read like the original entry for the Chamber of the New Master of number 18 in the Moat House, right? About Lareth. About what I don't want to say if some of your players actually listen to the podcast.
No, go ahead and say it, because I may have missed it.
Oh, okay. First off, let me just say, Lareth the Beautiful, first edition stats are insane. Strength 18, Wisdom 18, Dex 17, Constitution 16, Charisma 18, Intelligence only a 9, but he's got a Wisdom 18. So he's also got a really cool magic item that I'm not going to also say about, but he's got a couple of really cool magic items.
Oh,
but
yeah.
He is evil to his core. He's cunning. In a situation appears in doubt, he'll use bribery and honey words to sway the balance in his favor. Yes, he'll try to recruit the adventurers, but he'll also continuously test them. And if anybody seems to be not on the up and up or seem to be disloyal, he will just murder them in their sleep.
Yes.
So that dwarf, he's getting his throat slit tonight already. Like, seriously, he is chaotic evil.
Yeah, so I am doing the testing part. And I already got that planned out. I've already kind of looked ahead as like what the random encounters are between Hamlet and Nulb, and I have a couple picked out, and those will be the tests. And we'll just see how the dogs lie, really, because they knew he was the bad guy. Their inside check told them that he will kick their ass. Like, this guy is nothing to scoff at, and they.
I remember fighting him in first edition with just first edition equipment as like a level 3 character, maybe level 2 character. We almost all fucking died.
Yeah, I mean, I only looked at the 5th level stats, and even the 5th level stats, like, there's a lot of like, he is going to do X, so Y can happen, and then once Y happens, he's going to do Z. It was very like methodically written out, like how he's going to do his character. And like you said, with the stats that he has, saving from all his spells feels nigh impossible. Especially
he's essentially going to land a hold person on all of your non clerics. Possibly multiple of them.
Yeah, and so they're being cautious, and I applaud them for that. I applaud them for not just.
I want to hear next time the report back that they lulled him into a false sense of confidence and they murdered his ass in his sleep, and that I'm okay with.
And I think that's kind of what they might be gaming for is let's kind of play through this a little bit and then see how this goes. And you know what? I'm here for it. I'm here for the randomness and the chaos of it. So I just, as a DM, I'm like, why do all my teams always join the bad guys? But maybe I'm making my bad guys too good.
Maybe I'm blessed by the fact that when I run a game, I usually begin with, hey, what kind of game do you guys want? Because let me go and tell you what's off limits for me. I don't run evil games. Just don't fucking do that. You guys can be neutral guys. You guys can be good guys. Guys can just be mercenaries. That's fine. But if you're going to start like kicking puppies and murdering children, I'm not running that game for you. I'm not describing that for you.
Yeah,
that's off limits for me.
I've never had that. Like all the parties that I've ever had that have ever been evil, they're not doing I'm just going to call it
their pants on head evil.
Pants on head. Cobra Commander put my face in the moon.
I'm going to blow up the ocean.
There's no like straight evil. Like, I want to kill all the babies in this thing to my god. I haven't had that ever. And
you live a blessed and cherished life then, because you've never encountered that, Waples. Because as shit I have, and I definitely walked out of those games.
Yeah, but I have the opposite. Where it's like, you know what? The bad guy makes a lot of sense. We should join their side. So that's my situation. But it's adventurous. So it is what it is. It's chaos incarnate, and I love it. So that being said, in non-AL news, I got a chance to go out to the Festival of Legends this weekend for my birthday.
What is that?
By the way, we're recording on my actual birthday today.
Happy birthday!
Are you like 1 million years old?
I am 37.
That's swell.
Also bullshit.
By the way, I talked to a lot of people in my circle, and swell is a perfectly fine word to use.
That's
apology, mister. I stand redacted.
That's swell of you to think that, sir.
All right. So Festival Legends is kind of like a pseudo medieval Renaissance vendor fair. It's kind of like if you took a farmer's market like vendor fair that you would have around town and smush it together with a bunch of medieval cosplay and vendors and entertainment and whatnot.
You're just describing the Renaissance Festival.
Yeah.
It's not a Renaissance festival in the sense that there's like no jousting or there's no like.
There isn't always jousting and shit at Renaissance festivals. Sometimes it's pirate themed. Sometimes it's Robin Hood.
This one is always This one always has a fairy aesthetic to it, and so it doesn't change like that like a normal Renaissance festival. It also doesn't go like multiple weekends in a month. It only goes for one weekend once a year. I put a link to it in our podcast chat if you want to take a look at it. But there were a lot of really cool vendors there this year.
Where's it at?
Holly Springs, North Carolina.
Okay, where is that in relation to someplace I know?
You know where Raleigh Durham is?
I do.
It's right next to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the metro area, sort of like.
They're not cool enough to be part of the triangle, but they're there.
Okay, that's like saying the Georgia Renaissance Festival's in Fairburn. I say, where's Fairburn? Oh, just south of Atlanta. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was very entertaining. We've been going for multiple years. We wanted to see a bunch of acts this year, but it was too damn hot to do too many. But the one we saw that we definitely wanted to go to was a live D&D comedy show, and it was from a group called Fates and Foolery, and they do this like improv D&D one shot, and it's about an hour long, and they do all the rolling up on stage. They all have different characters that they play. I put a link to their website and what they do in our podcast chat on our Discord, but just fatesandfoolery.com is their website. Yeah, it was just a one shot where they kept coming out in like different pseudo costumes. They had someone dressed as the green screen, for special effects going off and everything.
That's great.
The best part is they were kind of going through. The story was there was a bunch of cats in a town, and they had to figure out why the cats were there, and it was because this one guy who was an evil bad guy because he had a big trench coat. Wanted to basically find an amulet of 9 lives because he wanted to live forever. And he had these 2 evil henchmen. One was wearing cat ears, the other one was wearing a bunny hat. It was like, yeah, I'm definitely a cat. Meow and shit. It was
meow. See?
It was quite amazing. And they almost TPK'd, which was hilarious. They were doing the final battle between the 3 adventurers and the cat bad henchman and the big bad guy henchman, and he rolled like 2 crits back to back, and none of the heroes were hitting. So 2 of the heroes were like quote unquote dead on the ground, and I could see the DM kind of get a little worried that the whole party was going to wipe on stage. But I was like, please wipe. I want to see this happen. But it was quite entertaining, and if I lived in Raleigh, I'd definitely check out one of their live shows.
Sounds like you did.
I mean, there's actual comedy club that they do their shows at regularly.
Okay. Gotcha.
I would definitely check that out.
Cool.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun. So there was that. Of course, they had like high wire, or I guess ribbon wire. I don't know, aerial acts, and Danley Dangerously is like a comedy show where he hurts himself a bunch, which is kind of entertaining. And they had a lot of vendors, a lot of vendors with a lot of really cool stuff, not just like 3D printed junk that you would see. Of course, there were people there like that, but a lot of people there were just having like, hey, I'm a writer. Here are all my books. Buy some. I'm an artist. Here's all my art prints. Buy some. Here's like, my handcrafted turned Harry Potter wands from different woods from around the world that are super expensive to import. Buy my wands. And I came across one vendor who was selling her art prints, and it was some real amazing art, like some nice forest pictures with dryads in it and stuff like that. I was kind of looking through her work, and I saw a book on the table. I was like, oh, cool. It's a book of all her artwork. I picked it up and I looked at it closely. It was called The Atlas of Central Fao, F-A-O. And I was like, what the hell? And it's a Nivas campaign setting. And then I look at the table. This is her own 5th edition campaign setting that she wrote and published herself. And so I have a link to her stuff on our Discord. She's on Blue Sky and Instagram as Neurophilia, Neurophylla, on both Blue Sky and Instagram. And she has an Etsy page, which is her name, AudreyLogson.com and AudreyLogsonArt.etsy.com, where you can buy a PDF of this for like $5. But I just bought her campaign setting book just sight unseen. It's got her beautiful artwork all throughout it. I kind of read a little bit of it, and there's a lot here. It's basically this huge world that she kind of broke down, the different areas that exist, the different monsters, kind of Norse theme or Norse inspired monsters. But her artwork definitely does push it over quite a bit. It's quite fantastic. And it's just her. She spent 14 years publishing this book. Wow. I definitely want to get her on the podcast to talk about it, and learn more about it, the specifics behind it. But it's a good, let's see here. Yeah, 325 pages. Like, holy shit, that is an accomplishment. And I definitely need to spend some more time
by yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's impressive, to say the least. So that's a really cool find that I found at the Festival of Legends Fair. And on Sunday, when we were headed home, we decided to stop by Game Theory. Game Theory is like the local gaming store up there in Raleigh. They have a couple of locations. And the location that we went to was having a board game bonanza day that day. And what a board game bonanza is anyone can show up, register a table with the store, and you can sell any board game that you may have for whatever price you want to the person that you're speaking to. They give you a ticket. So let's say you want to buy, I don't know, Exploding Kittens, because someone has a copy there. And they'll sell it to you for $10 because it's the Kickstarter version that meows when you open the box. And the battery still works, unlike mine. So they give you a ticket, says I'm buying Angry Kittens from vendor Waples for $10. And then you go up to the cash register at Game Theory, you give them the little ticket slip, you pay them $10, Game Theory, you pay them $10. Game Theory takes that $10 and puts it on the vendor's in-store account, so they have $10 to spend in store, and you get the game to walk away.
That's the same thing that Level Up Games does. That's basically the swap meet that they host every couple of months. And it wasn't just board games. Those board games, those puzzles. It was wargaming. It was card games and RPGs. I mean, I tried, and you didn't have to actually buy anything. That was an option. Like I did buy like a Pokemon book for my son, but I also swapped out some sword and sorcery books for a couple of old school AD&D modules for some guy that happened to have them. And there was people that were clearly looking for deals on either trading or buying D&D books or Pathfinder books or whatever. So yeah. I mean, I love that the game stores are doing that. So,
yeah,
that's awesome.
I've never seen anything like that before in my life. I was really excited to be there. So I was looking at a couple of the different vendors that had stuff. One guy was selling every single 5th edition era board game, like the Ravenloft, the Dritz one.
Yeah. I've slowly but surely collected most of those, even though most of them are not terribly good.
I enjoy that. I played all of them, and I like the hell out of them. So.
Yeah, they're really fun. 4th edition is great, guys.
As a board game, it's fine. As a board game,
it's okay as a board game.
So, he was selling every single one of those, and I think there's like 8 in total now for like $250 for all of them.
That's a pretty good deal. They mostly go to around $50 a piece. So
yeah, at least.
more like 75 a piece. But yeah,
They may list for 75 on eBay, but you can get about 50 for them.
Yeah. So that was a hell of a deal. And so I'm kind of looking around. We were looking for a couple games that we had played at one of their board game cafes. We actually went to one on Friday. That was a lot of fun. We played a game with our friends called like Mysterium, which is like Clue, but you have to explain the visions as a ghost to the players. And you got a better description for it, Jay?
No, I own a copy. I've never played it.
well, Shelly played it and she loved it. She wanted to buy that. Okay. But they didn't have. We saw two people walking out with it. We were like, "Oh, cool! Someone's got it." Yeah, no one else had a copy.
I will give you my copy.
All right.
Just remind me next time I'm gonna see you in a few weeks.
Yeah, so we liked that game a lot, and we played Sorrow quite a number of times. My wife loves Sorrow.
It's so boring. You just move a piece.
Yeah. But anyways, so we were looking for that, and my wife found this guy selling a bunch of old. She called me over first because, hey, this guy has a bunch of 4th edition stuff. Do you have this stuff? It's the 4E Essentials book. With 4E Essentials is essentially 4.5, for lack of a better term. That was their attempt to make 4th edition feel more like original D&D.
They failed.
They failed miserably at it. I don't think 4E Essentials is any way better or worse than, or it's just worse actually than standard 4th edition. But she saw those books, so I went over there and I looked, and he had a bunch of old 4th edition modules with the maps and all the books. A couple were without the binders and whatnot. And I was talking with him. His name was Scott. He actually runs Adventures League for Zinergy, so we were chatting about that for a bit.
What?
And as we were kind of going through stuff, I mentioned about the change to D&D encounters. He said he was aware of it and all that stuff.
So to correct you mean he ran Adventures League for Game Theory?
Yeah, Game Theory, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I must have misspoke. I'm still recovering from the weekend. So yeah, he runs Adventure League there. He knows about the change over to D&D encounters. He actually had some old 4th edition D&D encounters that he was selling. And he had a bunch of old like Lord of the Rings like board games from like 80s, I believe, or maybe earlier. Yeah. I had never seen anything like that before.
Was one of them a red box?
No, one was like a 2 foot by like, I don't know, 3 foot plastic box, like plastic clamshell that had a bunch of stuff inside and minis and stuff. It was really weird. I've never seen anything like that.
Huh.
But yeah, he had a bunch of really old stuff, and he said, this is just a lot of the extra stuff that I have that I'm just getting rid of. And I bought the Forgotten Realm campaign box from him that had everything for the Forgotten Realms in it. And I bought all his 4th edition modules because I didn't have any of those. I think maybe one of those is something that I had. I bought all his D&D encounter modules that he had. I bought all of his all his 2nd edition books that I could find as well. He had a bunch of sword and sorcery stuff there, but I didn't pick that up. He had the Fiend Folio there, but not the 1st edition printing one. So I didn't pick that up. And another cool thing that he was selling was these like Infinimap's. They're basically like huge banners, like 10 foot long by 2 foot wide banners that you just roll on like a giant scroll across a table, and you're basically supposed to work your way from one side to the other, all while unscrolling the map the entire way. So I bought those. He gave me a super deal on those because I had never seen anything like that. Another thing that I didn't buy, that I was just going to pick it up just to have another copy of it, but when he showed me the inside, I declined because he had an original 5th edition Legends or the Lost Mines of Phandelver starter set. I was like, hey, I could use another one of those. And when I picked it up to look at it, What he had done was he took the Lost Mines of Phandelver, the Isle, the Stormwreck Isle starter set, and the expansion, the essential kits for the Lost Mines of Phandelver. Basically, tokenize, like put all the tokens on like these rubber, like checker pieces, so they would move around better and have more weight to them than just being pieces of cardboard. He laminated all the handouts and everything like that. He basically took all the starter kits and jammed it all together into one like mega starter kit set. And he was selling it for like super cheap for someone that wanted to get interested in playing D&D for the first time. So, like, it had, like, all the maps were all still there. All the, like, the cards and handouts were all, like, you know, like I said, laminated and ready to go. He had character sheets laminated and ready to go. It was like an Uber starter set, kind of like Beetle and Grimm when they put out their sets that are always like have the better quality items and tokens and stuff. And he was selling it for like $20 for anyone who just wanted to learn and start playing D&D. And so that was really cool. And that's pretty much what he said he was there for, is just to kind of get more people hooked on it, find someone who really wants to buy these things and, you know, make a deal with them to get that. And by all means, I grabbed what I could and respectfully left some stuff at the table that I would have grabbed as well, but I was already nearly bankrupt with what I was buying. So it was just an amazing amount of stuff that I got. And
yeah, I love collecting, but it will definitely break the bank.
Yeah. But he was a real cool guy. And, you know, if I ever move to Raleigh, I'm going to go play in his games, you know.
Word.
Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've been to Game Theory several times. I really like that store. There's always cool shit going on up there.
Yeah. So he had all my money as, you know, as store credit. We were talking to him and his wife, and the wife is like, "Yeah, I'm not much of a gamer. I'm just probably gonna buy a plushie or a statue that I like." It's like, I'm thinking of buying that Displacer kitten that they have over there. And I kind of look at it, and my wife was eyeballing it too.
Of
I
course.
was like, "Oh no, I'm about to spend more money on a Displacer kitten." She's like, "It's life size." I was like, "I know, but we're gonna let this nice woman have it."
Yeah, somebody's already after it. Just let it be. Let it be. You've got enough.
But it was an incredible haul. The last thing I actually found in Game Theory proper, was an original Adventures reincarnated by Goodman Games. Now, this isn't the like one-shot pamphlets that they sell. This is actually like, I guess, a prequel. It's numbered 9.5.
What?
And so I believe 9 is Caverns of Thracia, right?
I have no idea. What is this thing called?
I'll get to that in a second. Let me look it up real quick.
Well, you said the name.
No, I didn't. 9.5. Goodman Games.
No, you said Adventures Incorporated or something like that.
No. It's an original Adventures reincarnated, like the Caverns of Thracia and those. So this one is numbered 9.5. Caverns of Thracia is 9. So this module is the Hell Pits of Nightfang by Janelle Jacques. I've never seen this little module for sale anywhere. So I picked this up and I read through it on the way home. It's just like a bunch of vampires moved into a bunch of like natural sunken pits, and you got to go kill the vampire.
Yep,
and
I've got that module. It came with the Caverns of Thracia stuff.
Well, it didn't come with mine, damn it.
It came with mine.
So I picked that up for like $10 at the store. Very happy with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I made out like a bandit this weekend, and
it's always nice as a collector when you can
Yeah.
grab a whole lot of stuff you didn't, or that you needed still.
Yeah.
Especially for reasonably priced.
The slave pit stuff, I know I didn't have those modules, so now that I got those, the fact that he had all four of them, the first edition slave pits, just all sitting there in really good quality, just ready to go. I was like, oh, I'll buy these. Thank you. And like I said, it was just cool to meet someone else that ran Adventurers League. We got to talking about it and what we've been doing, and pretty much
So
he and I had a lot of the same ideas about how to run the game currently. And
do all of his players side with the bad guys?
no, his players are better. His players. No, I didn't really bring that up, but just more like how we were playing our own individual modules instead
More
of.
importantly, do his players play 1980s, 1990s wrestlers?
They should if they don't.
Yeah. But it was really cool just to meet more people that are in the grind with me. We do exist out there, I guess.
Yeah. Did he ask you about the Matt Mercer top 10 list?
Yeah, he did actually bring that up. He said he saw the article last week, and he was really interested in number 3.
Yeah, what are his thoughts on that?